Hey everyone, Dr. Keith here. Hope you're having an amazing day. If you were with us last week, or 2 weeks ago, sorry, when we did the original webinar, you'll know that this is going to be short, kind of just me talking. If you want to ask questions, you can kind of type them in, and we're just going to kind of talk. There won't be any slides or anything to go off, but this will be saved so you can share it with your friends and rewatch it if you want to. And today we're going to talk about stress. And we're going to talk about what stress is, just some basic kind of stuff, some things you can kind of do to help manage it, and kind of have maybe a different perspective on it. So most of the time when people think of stress, they're thinking of emotional stress. And while that's probably one of the most common ones that we find, we're going to talk about stress in terms of basically either physical things, chemical things, or emotional things. Certainly the workplace stress or stress with kids is going to be a huge factor with people, but it can be kind of any of those. And so as a generality, your body's going to respond very similarly to all stresses. And that's going to be one of the main things that I want to get you guys to understand today, and how that kind of affects you. So I'm just going to read off some things that the stress response does and how that physiologically changes you, and some ways, kind of some markers that are often talked about. And when you're under a chronic stress, these things are always going to be happening. So this kind of can give you some insight of why some of these things are happening to you. So for instance, your cortisol levels are going to go up. You're going to have an increase in catecholamines, which are like stress hormones. You're going to have an increase in heart rate, increase in vasoconstriction, increase in blood pressure, increase glucose levels, increase lipid levels or fat levels, increase cholesterol. Different clotting factors will increase. You'll have increased insulin resistance. You even have increased bone loss. Some other things that'll decrease are actually memory. Short-term memory actually goes down quite a bit. There's really no need to it in a stress response. So you have decreased serotonin, decreased cellular immunity. You have decreased anabolic hormones, which are hormones that help you build. So as you can see, a lot of these things are things that a lot of people are taking medications for, but it really is most likely caused from, it is going to be caused from either a chronic physical stress, chronic chemical stress, or chronic emotional stress. So if you're taking these meds and not actually trying to change whichever one, or most of the time it's a combination of those three, certainly most people have one that's a little stronger at a specific time, but they're going to change. And so these things are going to go up and down, and you want to be able to handle them better, because you really, in order to be healthy, you need your blood pressure and your cholesterol and things like that at a level not by drugs. Like taking the drug doesn't make the situation better. It just makes it lower with drugs. But the problem is actually still there. So, in looking at, like I said, cellular immunity goes down. So if you're chronically stressed out and then you're going to start getting sick a lot, that makes complete sense. It's like this because historically, as humans, a stress response didn't last very long. It was very acute. So for instance, we always use the example of running from a tiger. So running from an animal that's trying to get you. So you need your blood pressure to go up, your heart rate to go up so you can run faster. When you're working out, you want these things higher. You even need, you can have an increase in bone loss, and it's not really going to affect you negatively. One of the reasons you do that is to help balance your alkaline acid balance. And so when you actually pull minerals out of your bone when you're in a chronic situation, because you need a balance for all your hormone or all your enzymes and other things to kind of work properly. And if you're running from a tiger, you don't need short-term memory. You don't really even want to remember it. And like I said, you don't need to build right now. You're just worried about survival. So the anabolic hormones are going to be affected quite a bit. But most of the time when we're thinking of stress, we always have like a negative thing for it, where it's not necessarily negative. Stress is basically how you're looking at it, if it's a positive or a negative. And most stresses have a little bit of both in it. For instance, exercise is a stressful thing, but if it's done appropriately, it's very good for you. So, and one guy that I'll talk about a lot is Selye, and he was one of the first people that I'm aware of that looked into these different stresses and kind of looked at it from where some stresses are bad, some are good. And so he kind of came up with this ability to kind of look at it. And how I like to describe it is pretending like you have a bucket. And so if you have a bucket and it slowly fills with water with different stresses, and if you don't handle your stress right, or you don't have a good if you're not looking at it correctly or a good perspective on things, then you're eventually just going to keep filling up your bucket. When you keep filling up your bucket, it's going to explode or overflow. When it overflows, that's really when you start to see major diseases, major symptoms kind of going on. And this is sometimes referred to as your allostatic load or allostasis. And it's a really good, easy way to understand how stress is, because oftentimes we've been doing a lot of things that may not be great for us for a long time, and we really don't have a lot of problems from it. You know, we can tell little bits here and there, but then all of a sudden a ton of things just start happening at once. And that's really where we start to see a lot of negative things happen. And so we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So we'll talk about some ways to kind of help balance things out from all different angles. Like I said, there's, physical, chemical, emotional, they're all going to affect you a little bit. So I'm just going to read a quote from Selye, and he talks about distress and eustress. Eustress is going to be the thing that's good for you, but it's really how you perceive that stress. So his quote is, "Stress is not necessarily bad for you. It is also the spice of life. For any emotion, any activity causes stress. The same stress that makes one person sick is an invigorating experience for another. Complete absence of stress is incompatible with life, since only a dead man makes no demand on his mind and body." So as you can see, stress is required, and you need it to kind of build. So for instance, if we go back to exercise, you need exercise to build. You need to challenge your mind in order to make your mind smarter. So they're all good things. So stress is not necessarily a bad thing. It's going to be more of how you perceive things. Now, for the rest of the talk, we're just going to talk about some very simple things that you should do daily to kind of help increase your ability to adapt. Simple thing that you've probably heard before, you may have tried it, you may not, but if you haven't, you might not understand it, is meditation. And meditation is a kind of a general thing. You can incorporate kind of a broad range of different activities. This basic meditation, especially if you're a beginner, is going to be some type of guided meditation. You just listen to something, and they're going to talk to you, tell you to deep breathing, kind of things like that. So basically, it's just breathing in a quiet place and being calm. It's very effective. You only have to do it about 10-15 minutes a day, especially when you're starting off. But there's a variety of other ways you can do it. You can, prayer is a form of meditation. And so there's a variety of different things you do. Nowadays, you can just download an app on your phone and they'll guide you through it. Simple thing. A lot of people like to start their day or end their day doing it. Another way to do something can be like that, can be meditative, but also a little exercise is yoga. Some people really like yoga to do that. Some people don't. And you have to find as you'll see, you have to find what you really enjoy. Massage can be very beneficial as well for handling stress. If you've ever had a massage, you know how relaxed you feel afterwards. It releases all kinds of different chemicals, but you probably don't care about that. You just want to feel better. So massage is something, if you do it regularly, can really help you. And same thing with exercise. If you're exercising appropriately and if you're actually enjoying it, so you have to do something you actually enjoy. For me, I do CrossFit, and so I really enjoy that. I'll do yoga a little bit, but I don't enjoy it as much, and so it's not something that really helps me as much. So from a diet standpoint, we can certainly, this could be a very long talk, but we're just going to basically talk about the basic things. Basically, you just want to eat healthy foods. And the basic thing you're going to want to start with is just not eating processed foods, drinking a little more water. So if we just start with that, then you're going to be way healthier. Your bucket's not going to be as full, so you're going to be able to adapt a little better. Supplement standpoint that we always talk about are the 4, which is omega-3, vitamin D, a whole food multivitamin, and probiotics. So getting those 4 in, you're probably deficient in them. There's highly likely that you are. So it's just something that's going to help you, again, have not as much stress in your bucket. So we talk about this a lot in chiropractic, stress, because in chiropractic we're dealing with the nervous system, and so the nervous system is the main way that you interact with your environment. So when your immune system or when your nervous system's strong, you're able to interact with it way better. So in our office, we utilize different scans, different procedures to kind of see how your nervous system's functioning. Once we can figure that out, we can see if that's something that'll also help you adapt better to stress. It also increases your immune system, things like that. So we see, people are able to kind of handle different things better. They're able to handle different microorganism challenges, so different bacteria, different virus. Their immune system's pumping out harder because their nervous system's working better. So it's another simple way that you can, be healthier, handle stress better. And so, and like always, it's best to kind of do a little bit of everything. There's going to be certain areas where you're not going to find as fun. So do the ones you enjoy better. Maybe you really enjoy, diet. Maybe you really enjoy exercise. But you're going to want to definitely balance one. You can't completely not do one of them. You're not going to get the benefit that you simply can. And the easiest one is just coming to the office, getting checked regularly to see how your nervous system's functioning and making sure you're always improving in that area. So if you guys have any questions kind of further, we're going to have another one of these short webinars in a couple weeks. So watch out for the email, or as well we'll be posting it on all our social media stuff. So I'm Dr. Keith. Have an amazing day.